Kim and Penn Holderness. It's so good to see you guys. I know it's been a little bit, but congratulations on the book.
Thank you. We're so excited. It was just released, but already people have read the entire thing and are leaving reviews and emailing us. I know. So I'm just so excited that it's finally in people's hands.
Oh, I'm so happy to see it. Everywhere I look, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. ADHD is awesome. I love the title. The exciting part of it is that people know you and they know a lot about you, but there's even more to uncover in this book because there's a lot of things that you talk about living with ADHD, understanding it, and really talking about parts of your brain that people may not really understand.
Yes. So a lot of it is discovery, right? And understanding is key. I think that for a long time, it wasn't even a thing. When I was raised, there was no such thing as ADHD. Then after that, ADHD became something that you treated like you would treat a cold, where, oh, you're having trouble focusing, here's some medicine. And over the decades, I think people have realized that like a strengths-based approach works better, meaning like, let's understand your brain. Let's find out when things are working and put systems in place so that they can work better. And in the end, we both learned together what was going on inside my brain. It made her, I think, probably a little more understanding of why sometimes I do the things I do. And it made it easier for me to want to get to work on it because I could see something that was happening and actually have an actionable plan to make it better.
Were there things that you felt were either falling through the cracks or you weren't realizing, look, we all come from the same background of TV and news and going, and every day is different. But you all, went out on your own and created this enterprise of, really sharing your lives, sharing what it's like, entertaining people, but at the same time sharing real things. So were there things that you noticed where you said, okay, we've got to implement these systems in place to keep going forward?
For a very long time, I was able to manage ADHD and I found jobs that were conducive to it. One of them happens to be the job that I have right now, where you have to make entertaining content in just a few seconds and not get bored. But Kim and I started a business together. We started raising a family together. And yes, things started falling through the cracks. I might be putting a terrific video or a great song out there, but I'm leaving the stove on and I'm leaving the house. Or, I'm leaving the keys in the car overnight and realizing, oh my gosh, my car could have been stolen. And so, yeah, your executive functioning can start to really redline in a world like this. And it was certainly happening to me.
Kim, what about you? How did you deal with that? Because you are raising a family, you are working together. You're working together, you're playing together, you're running a business, and you're raising children together.
I would say this: the things that attracted me to Penn in the beginning, 100% were his ADHD brain, right? I mean, he was spontaneous and musical, and he would write a song, and he was dancing, and he was doing the worm when I walked in and saw him the first time. I mean, like this is all the spontaneity, and this is ADHD, right? And I think it was like quirky and charming when we were dating and newlyweds. And then we started raising kids together and people would joke saying like, oh, look at you. It's like you have 3 kids. And I'd never found that funny. No. And I would say that the thing, and we've done our stint in marriage counseling.
Sure.
I would think the ADHD symptom that Penn continues to work on the most is listening. You can tell in conversation, he wants to he wants to jump in and sometimes but I can see him even right now, like he is trying so hard not to jump in and interrupt.
It doesn't come naturally.
It does not come naturally.
Sitting here and not talking.
But I would seeing him do the work, and I have to say we did this deep dive. He really led the deep dive. Now I understand like biologically how his brain works. And I know he's not doing it on purpose. I know he's not doing it just to piss me off. So I can extend a lot more grace.
But that's a great way to say it and to see both sides of it too, because when you talk about the deep dive, that is the background you came from of interviewing, getting answers, figuring it out. So there's got to be something to that. I mean, I think for myself, like I'm writing a book on menopause and I did that deep dive and I'm like, I love interviews. But I love interviews because they teach me something constantly, and then I can implement what I learned, right? And I assume that's what you've both done.
I think so. It was interesting. 5 years ago, we started making, we've made content about our lives, and I think that was the first time Penn wrote some sort of ADHD parody, or we did some sort of ADHD skit. And there was such an overwhelming response from people wanting, just the fact that we were celebrating it, making light of it. And then we have a podcast. So we started having these doctors and experts on, and there was so much more than we could cover in an hour of a podcast. And we got really hungry for it. And yeah, just like you, I mean, as former journalists, and just selfishly, we wanted this information for our own family. Our son was diagnosed 2 years ago. And as a mom, I wanted to know how I could help him live better in this world. So it is interesting as journalists, like you get super curious about something and you just can't let it go.
Penn, what about you? Where do you see taking all of this next? Because I feel like teaching people like this is the right way to teach people. And I feel like you've kind of updated this conversation on ADHD, which I think is a big deal.
Well, thank you. I am not a doctor. I am not experimenting on lab rats. No, not yet. I am not experimenting on lab rats. I am the lab rat, right? So all of these doctors who we interview, they take me as a case example. And I think that one thing I can do as a lab rat is talk to the other fellow ADHDers out there and let them know that there's nothing wrong with you. Also, really importantly, that they're not alone, right? There's millions of us who walk the streets with this same type of brain. And if we don't understand it, we feel shame, right? Shame comes from things that you realize or you don't like about yourself, but also that you don't understand about yourself. So getting that understanding. The next step is two things. Number one, teach everyone who's got ADHD that it's super okay to put some systems in place that are going to make your day a little bit easier. Even if sometimes it feels like you're being treated like a juvenile or like a baby, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm going to have to put a list together today. Get over that and realize once you manage those things that are tough on you, that are easy on others, you can do a lot of stuff that's tough on others, that's easy on you. Like be an innovator and a creator and an entrepreneur, or like there's some amazing athletes. There's something about hyperfocus in athletics that really helps people like Simone Biles and Michael Phelps and Michael Jordan. So there's a better world for ADHD out there. We're gonna make the most of the world we've got with these systems in place. Then let's talk like 20, 30 years down the road, the rest of the world catches up and learns about this type of brain. And we start building schools and office places and collaborative areas that are conducive to people like us.
Is there a system or two in place that you have right now that you could share that might help somebody listening?
Yeah, sure. So some of them are funny. Some of them are serious. Like I did almost burn the house down, leaving a stove on. It's a gas stove. There's no auto off. And it just leaves my working memory and I go and I do something else. And so every time I turn a stove on, I tell Siri to set a 10-minute timer. I never cook anything that's longer than 10 minutes. And if I do, I reset the timer. So it'll glare at that point and make sure I don't forget it. I went to a gym this morning where they had to keep my driver's license. Can you imagine me forgetting my driver's license and going to the airport? You can, because it's happened. So I set an alarm for 45 minutes to go off to make sure that Siri and alarms are fantastic.
Yeah.
So I pee sitting down.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. You have to know that
because
now. And you can't unknow that.
Well, we sit down and you pee sitting down.
I'm erasing the visual.
But here's why. If I leave it, she really doesn't like it when I leave the toilet seat up because there's like a late night splash down at 2:00 in the morning. If I don't do it. So I just pee sitting down unless I'm in like a public urinal.
Oh, gross. Oh my God. Okay. And he also talked about the magnet.
Yeah. I have a magnet on top of my car and the magnet doesn't hold anything, but it's a visual cue not to put my coffee mug on top of the car because what I do is I walk out with like all this crap in my hand and I got my coffee mug and I stick it on top of the car and I throw everything in and it leaves my working memory and I drive off and I have broken
brilliant.
6 at least coffee mugs backing up and it also gets coffee all over your windshield. So that magnet also could go next to a hamper or next to a laundry machine or next to any place.
Yeah, you could for a while, and I don't know what happened. We had it on the dryer as a cue to like empty your pockets before you start laundry. Yeah. So it's just like those just sort of visual cues that remind him of like the action that has to take place, in that surrounding.
And people look at me like, why do you have a magnet on your car? I'm like, how much time do you have?
Yeah.
I'll tell you all about it.
Lots of reasons.
Yeah.
Lots of reasons. Okay, where can people find you? If they, can't imagine anybody who doesn't know where to find you, but where can they find you? And of course, we'll link to the book for you.
We're the Holderness family, not very creative at all, on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all those places. And our podcast is really also not creative. It's the Holderness Family Podcast. We really are. For as creative people.
I love your branding.
I know.
I love it.
It does. Yeah.
Our podcast is creative. It's
creative.
It's creative. No, I love it. I think it's great. Well, I just have to tell you, in full confession, my husband is like not necessarily on Instagram, except when I put his picture up there or put a video up. But we sit and watch your videos, and there was one in particular that happened recently, was about the gifts, because I do the same thing that you do, which I'm like, I don't need anything, but it better be the right thing. And I watched that video literally 10 times. I was so
well,
hard. And listening to you giggle in the background.
Because, my birthday came up, and finally, this is actually the first year that I went out and bought my own gifts. Because normally I'll just go shop like a month before and I'll call it my birthday, but then I'm using it. So that can't be a present. So I just went like the weekend, like 2 days before. So yeah.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed it, as I enjoy many things you all do.
Thank you. Do you have
Well, I was just going to say, in case this is the last time anyone sees this, I love you all. Our building is shaking. And I'm not sure.
No, I think it's construction. It's construction.
Oh, is it?
Oh, because we had an earthquake in New York not too long ago.
Yes, I was here. I was.
Feels shaky.
It's fine.
You think it's just construction?
It's just construction.
Okay, if you're not worried, I'm not worried.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm
in LA, so I'm definitely not worried.
Well, you're going to get more earthquakes than us.
It could be worse, actually.